Hi, I'm Jenny Robertson, founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. Welcome to Connections on Purpose. Whether you're here with us live on Zoom, joining us on Facebook, or watching later on YouTube, I'm glad you're here. This is your time to slow down, fill up, and connect with other heart-centered women who are making a difference in the world. One of those women is with me today. Suzie Jeffreys is speaking on Spring Reset, reclaiming your energy, strength, and heart health for the season ahead. Suzie is a women's health coach, cardiac rehab specialist, founder of Living Fitness RX, and the creator of the Holistic Heart Health Intensive, her 90-day online program where she helps women rebuild strength, energy, confidence, and freedom after a health scare. And you can find out more about Suzie on her website, which is livingfitnessrx.com, and that website link is in the text of this video. Suzie, thank you for being here with us. Appreciate you and looking forward to hear what you have to say tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here amongst all these lovely ladies and reaching out to the community as a whole. So, what I love about spring is I feel like it's a great time for a reset. I think it's an invitation for a reset. And that's how I like to look at it. So, it's an invitation for you yourself to gain back, your energy, your confidence, your finding your grounding. Like I loved what we spoke of in prior to coming on. Like everybody who led up, I just felt like you guys were the perfect lead into tonight's talk. So thank you so much for that. And for those of you that didn't get to hear that, um, it was a beautiful share. So what I want you to think about is not the version, an invitation to remember the version of who you want to be, but even a time where you felt your best and how you can get back there. So for some of us, that's the actual physical body. Some of us, it's the emotional side, but those two blend together and support each other. So when it comes to springtime, I think it's a great time to start exploring where we can find that and remembering that it is a process and to take it slow and to kind of breathe in to what feels good for you and really recognizing that. Um, for some of us, maybe it's just that we're a little off. Like, we had quite the winter here in Maryland. So coming out of winter and into the spring, maybe it's just a matter of feeling a little off and like discombobulated, and you want to get your grounding back. Maybe it's been a health situation, like an actual health scare, whether it is a new diagnosis or just, you know, uh, yeah, like a new diagnosis. So whether it's a heart diagnosis, because for those of you that know me, I focus on heart health mostly, but it can also be about the prevention side of it. So maybe you haven't been taking care of yourself the way that you had intended to, and now is a time to find what taking care of yourself feels like for you and what that means for you. And for each of us, that's a little different. For some of us, it's, the exercise that we need to focus on. Some of us, it is the nutrition that we put into our body. And for some of us, it's just taking that pause and resetting, right? So at first, you have to become aware of what you want and see the possibilities. And I like to invite people to know that even if you have a health setback or a new diagnosis, that's not the end. Sometimes it's the beginning of the reset. Um, So, and if you haven't started on a health journey, maybe you've never even thought about health. There have been plenty of people in my world who have never given a thought to what it meant to exercise or the foods that they put in their body. And then they get hit with a diagnosis, and maybe it's not a big scary one. Maybe it's just a little bit of elevated blood pressure, but now they're thinking about it. And so I invite you to think about what that looks like for you, and exploring um, that there's always the possibility to change things. So where you are right now, you don't have to be stuck. And a big part of it is not jumping in with both feet, right? So what I see with some of my clients is that when they first come to me, they're frustrated because they've jumped in completely into an exercise routine or a whole new diet shift. And what happens is when you jump in and like, oh, I'm going to exercise 5 days a week, or I'm going to, and I'm going to exercise for an hour on those 5 days of the week, right? And or I'm going to change my whole eating. I'm eating potatoes girl, and now I'm going vegan. Those kind of changes aren't ever going to last. It's better to take one small area and work on that, get that honed in, feel good about it, and then move on to a new area. So that could look like when it's related to your diet, that maybe you're just adding more water, right? Maybe you weren't a water drinker, or maybe you didn't even think about how much fluid you were taking in general. And so now you start to think about that. And so you get that dialed in first, and then you pick another thing. So maybe you start looking at food labels, um, or maybe you start adding more vegetables and fruits and less packaged goods. So that's what it can look like from a food standpoint. From an exercise standpoint, maybe it's just doing a 10-minute walk in the morning. And if 10 minutes feels like too much, you just do you. You do what feels good for you so that you can then build on it. You don't want to go for that hour and a half gym rat kind of feeling, because it's not going to last. Because what happens is then you end up maybe more exhausted than what you wanted to be, right? Because we're trying to rebuild our energy, and here you are depleting it um, with doing extremes. So that can be extremes with diet, it can be extremes with exercise. It's really important to just take time to navigate what is going to feel good for you in moving into that level of increasing your energy. Um, you you absolutely don't need more willpower here. Um, you need a great support system, and that support system can be your friends, your family, your significant other. It can be coworkers. It can be a great class that you attend. Anything that's going to support you along the way and encourage you, and um, not judge you if you fall off track. That's really important. The important thing to know is that there's always a next moment, right? There's always, if we ate the whole piece of cake, your next bite or your next meal is a chance to reset. If you missed a workout for the week, or doing movement for a week for whatever reason, there's always another chance to get started. And so be kind to yourself, give yourself grace in those moments. Um, I don't like to use the word discipline because it's not so much about discipline. It's about tapping into those small movements and building on them and recognizing how those small movements made you feel better, made your energy, made your brain fog go away. Those food choices, those better food choices, that more water made you feel better, right? And so then you build step by step on top of all of that. Um, I think that we can recognize that um, energy energy is important to be able to make good choices in our diet, and then what we're going to do with the rest of our day as far as movement. I always like to say energy produces energy. So even if you can just get out for 5 minutes, that's a good way to boost your energy. If you can break away from the computer, if you can break away from your work obligations or your whatever your obligations are. So I know we have some caregivers in the group. If you can have somebody take over for you for just 5 minutes so that you can reset, so that you can be aware when those crashes are starting to come on and interrupt them before they come. So, like that 2 p.m. crash that you might feel, that you, before that hits, so that you don't go and grab, the sugary snack because you know that's going to boost your energy, or the high caffeine drink because you know that's going to increase your energy. If you can intercept it before it comes and put, the more fluids in your body, or uh, any healthy foods like healthy fruits, vegetables, anything like that, or get out and get some fresh air and some movement, that will help to um, ward off that 2 p.m. crash and that lack of uh, motivation to not put something in the body that's not going to serve you well. Starting and stopping a routine is really something that a lot of my clients experience. They'll be really good for 2, 3 weeks, maybe even a month. And then something happens, and then they're back to square one. And so that's what we try to eliminate, is that keeping that consistency is really important in building into the energy reset for the season. So we want to that's why it's important to do the small steps so that you can stay consistent as opposed to taking on too much. So it's better to do the small steps, build the consistency, add some more, build the consistency, and through the little steps, your results are going to come faster because you've been more consistent. So there's also a lot of confusion out there. So when it comes to seeking out what you should do, I always tell people keep it really simple. So real whole foods are going to serve the body. Choosing things right now that are in season is really good for the body. Um, Getting outside, again, super good for the body. Enjoying that fresh air, being out in nature just as a whole really serves the mind, the emotional body, the physical body. So we want to make sure that we're consistently engaging in those activities that really support not not just our physical self, but that the whole nervous system reset. So the foundation is that we want to be mindful of the intensity, right? So not jumping in completely, that doing it consistently, making sure that you're choosing good nourishment. So think nutrient dense foods and how that serves the body. Before you put something in, taking a moment to ask, is this really serving my body and serving my health? Is there a better choice that I can make? And sometimes, to be honest, that piece of chocolate is just what the body needs, and that's okay. Um, Sometimes those French fries are okay, but as long as it's not the go-to every time, right? So you don't build on top of you don't build energy without some purposeful um, actions. So the purposeful actions are taking time to be aware of the choices that you're making when it comes to the intensity that you put towards something or the nourishment that you put in your body or the break that you take. Because sometimes we just need to sit. So that's okay too. And to understand that and take that in is really important for building your health journey. So, especially as women and as women of a certain age. So if you're 40 plus, we don't have the same protections that we did when we were younger. So we want to have the downtime. It's not good for our bodies to go, go, go because we exhaust ourselves. So this season is about building into our energy reset. And so we want to be mindful that we're taking time for ourselves and taking time to enjoy others, and that it's not an all or nothing approach, and giving ourselves grace when we slip, but being strong enough to jump back onto the journey that we set for ourselves or the game plan that we set for ourselves in the next moment. And if not in the next moment, in the next day, not waiting till the next week, the next Monday, the next month, to get restarted. It's better energy wise to recognize and be aware and then step into it as soon as you can. And so I want to invite you to think about 10-minute movements. You know, they don't have to be extravagant, but you can get results from them. Now, this is not to say that you get 10-minute exercise routines and call it a day. Some days that's all you get, right? Because if the day as a caregiver or as an entrepreneur doesn't allow for a full-on exercise routine, that's okay. But in the big scheme of things, we want to make sure that we're doing regular exercise, regular movement, and regular nutrition, good nutrition choices. So the regular movement, that 10-minute workout 3 times during the day, or two 15-minute workouts in your day, is a lot of the time a better way to manage it. If I told you you had to work out for an hour, or you had to work out for 30 minutes, to get the benefits 3 to 5 days a week, you might go, oh my God, I never have that kind of time in my schedule. But if I said, hey, do you have 10 minutes in the morning? Do you have 10 minutes around lunchtime? Do you have 10 minutes maybe before dinner? Because after dinner, a lot of times it's not going to happen because that's when we start to settle, and that's okay. Um, but if you could if you can break it up into chunks, you can absolutely get results. And the more that we do it, the more our body craves it, the more our body misses it when we don't do it. So it becomes a habit that we we enjoy, or that, and if you don't enjoy it, that's okay, but that your body misses it is the goal. Like I always tell my clients, I hope that you miss, when you don't work out, or if they choose something like, I always pick on the Cheesecake Factory because if you've ever eaten there, their portions are huge and obnoxious. And if you go there and you eat the whole darn meal, my hope is that you feel awful afterwards so that you don't do that again, because that can derail you. Um, you want to make sure that that you keep your goals realistic. Don't tell yourself that you're gonna, run a marathon next month, but you've never been a runner, right? Don't even tell yourself you're gonna run a 5K if you're not a runner next month. Let's start with walking. Let's start with things that make sense. Let's do things that also are safe. Because if you tried to go out to run and you've never been a runner, the chances of you getting injured are greater. And then that depletes your energy. It depletes your emotional energy and it depletes your physical energy. Um, so having systems in place for the days that like are smooth like butter, right? That everything's going as planned is just as important as having systems in place for the days that you intended to be smooth like butter, but they weren't. So that's where that 10-minute kind of do something instead. Something is always better than nothing, right? And so do 10 minutes and call it a day, and give yourself a pat on the back if that's all you could do. But when you can do the 10 minutes 3 times a day, or 2 15 minutes, or that full 30 minutes, that's going to build on your energy and um, the consistency, and in the long term, building that habit in. So the goal is to build that habit, and then making sure that you allow time for managing any stressors that come along. And I know as a caregiver, there can be a lot of stress involved with that. So making sure that you set time aside that you can step away and have the system that works for you in that moment. So whether that step away looks like you're gonna step outside for 3 minutes, that you're gonna escape to a quiet room, that you're gonna sit down with a cup of tea for 3 to 5 minutes, something that allows you to build back into your energy is really important to have. I hope all this is making sense. And I think that the big message when it comes to spring energy is it's a great time for resetting. The days are longer, the days are getting warmer. There's lots of new activity that we can do both inside and outside, but to declutter our brains, to declutter maybe what the winter allowed us to put into our bodies and the winter allowed us to not do. It's now a time to go ahead and re-engage or engage for the first time. And wherever you are in that journey, I want you to take a moment and think about what the possibility you dream of looks like for you. So maybe it's that you're going to wake up with more energy. Maybe it's that you're going to feel stronger in 3 months, 2 months, because you've been consistent with a routine, And again, whether that routine is a combination of all things, nutrition, movement, and stress management, or it's just one of those things. I usually will encourage people to pick one area of focus first and then move into another area. But the important thing is that you trust your body and trust in the possibility of where you are today isn't where you have to be tomorrow or in 3 months, right? So a lot of times it takes about 3 months to build in those habits. But if you can be consistent day to day, you're going to feel better day to day. You're going to build the belief in yourself day to day that you can do the thing, whatever it is for you. I like to encourage people to put a calendar somewhere where they can see it. So a calendar in the kitchen or in the bathroom are two spots that I can pretty much guarantee everybody's going to be at some point. And check off when you've had a really good day, when you felt successful. Um, and and if you didn't feel successful, to reflect on what that meant, the why of why I didn't eat the way I wanted to, or why I didn't get out to exercise, and know that tomorrow's a new day, and that as you look at that calendar and you see the stars that you put on it, like check marks are okay, but I like stars because stars mean like, oh, yay, it was a good day. I'm celebrating. And so if you put a star on there, then you can look back and reflect like, oh, okay, I had 4 good days last week. What was going on last week that I did 4 good days, where this week I only did 2 good days so far, maybe, if it's only Wednesday, right? Um, and it's important to um, see what's possible, right? So to be able to go back and reflect on that calendar, having something visual to reflect back on is really important it, in in my opinion. So I like to be able to go back with clients, to be able to go back with myself and reflect as to what worked well at any given point in areas of my life. So the message is you don't have to in order to increase energy, you don't have to overhaul everything tonight or tomorrow. You just need to pick one thing, and that one thing can be a food choice, a nutrition. So it can be an actual food choice, or, um, you know, increasing water, or maybe adding supplements, something that's going to be good for your body that way, a movement choice. And so it doesn't have to be a full on exercise routine. Maybe it's just getting up and out of bed in the morning and doing a stretching routine, or taking the time to do a 10-minute walk, or do those push ups on the counter while the coffee is brewing or the water is boiling for your tea. Um, it can look like knowing that work is stressful, life is stressful, and that I'm setting the intention to take 3 to 5 minutes every day to just be with me and breathe and set some stress release um, tools in place for yourself. So, and then building upon each one. So don't don't jump in with both feet and underwater. Take it one step at a time. Um, if if any of this like spoke to you tonight, don't ignore it. It's usually a wake up call that you are ready and you're recognizing what is possible and what the future holds for you. So I'd like to invite you to take a breath and feel into the energy that this spring season is bringing in. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. Thank you, Susie. And I'd like to, let's show Susie some love. So unmute yourselves if you're here with us on Zoom, and let's applaud and shout and say yay for all that great information Susie just gave us. So
Yay.
Yay!
Yay.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank
Great
you.
information.
Thank
woo!
you.
Great
Yeah.
information.
Great job.
Susie.
So thank you. Thank you, Susie. So many good things to remember. And I love your approach that we don't have to change it all tomorrow because that never works. It's not sustainable. But you give hope for that one thing that we might do. That one thing that says, "Ooh, that was good. I feel good. I want to do that other thing," and build on it. That's so, so, so important. So thank you again for sharing your wisdom with us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for allowing me to do so. Um, I've been doing this work for 30 years, so I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on knowing what works and what doesn't work.
Mhm.
And I know that the small steps with consistency always outweighs the big giant steps that we try and take because we want the results that we wanted today, 3 days ago, or last year, and we're
Yeah.
still in this space. So I do know that the little steps build the momentum.
I think that's such an important point because I know for myself, it feels if I don't, it's not enough, right? We're not doing enough, but we're doing something because if we feel like we're not doing enough, we probably won't do anything. At
Right,
least that's been my
right.
experience. And then at the end of a month or two, you've done nothing. I've done nothing, but yet I could have taken those baby steps and really made a difference over a 2 month period. So great advice. Thank you for your expertise. And be sure you check out Susie's website. It's in the text of this video and see if she might have something there that you want to maybe have a call with her or get in touch with her and see how she might be able to work with you. So thank you everyone here with us on Zoom. Thank you to those watching Facebook Live or on our YouTube channel. If you want to get more involved or come to a future Connections on Purpose gathering, go to our website, which is opwgc.com, and check out our offerings. We have 6 Zoom gatherings every month and on purpose and an in-person meeting in Columbia, Maryland once a month. The website link for my site is also in the text of this video. So until the next time you hear from us, stay inspired, stay connected, and stay grounded in your purpose. Thanks again for watching.